What up, street nods? Eric Kim with the Eric Kim Street Photography blog, and toss some turbo thoughts at y'all. So this is the first thing I want to think about: the individual or the artwork. So to me, this is an important thought or notion, because certainly the apex and the most important thing is to become a great person, a great individual, a great human being. So I think ultimately, if you just kind of zoom out and you look at history, who's remembered, whatever, we don't remember things, we don't really, even artwork, we don't really remember artwork. What we remember is the individual. So it's like zoom out back history, right? Who do you remember? We remember Julius Caesar, we remember, you know, Seneca, we remember Marcus Aurelius, we remember Napoleon, and so forth. And I think this is where art gets interesting, because you know when people say like, oh, the person X, Y, and Z is acting is frightened or fake or pretentious or blah blah, and that is actually the biggest ill, where you overstate who you are or you pretend to be something you're not. So for example, the biggest problem in like rap music, when rappers say, you know, I'm a thug, I'm from the hood, blah blah, and they just kind of grew up in like a nice neighborhood. And this was actually Jay-Z's beef with Nas, is like, you know, I mean, I don't know too much about the history, but the idea is that like Jay-Z actually did grow up, you know, straight up in the hood, like life or death situations, whereas like Nas was just like writing about the hood, like in a kind of a safe environment. And so, but you know, like the thing that's interesting is that like it ultimately doesn't even matter like what environment you're raised in. What's more important is actually like whether you're fronting or not, whether you're being fake or not. And so to me, this is an interesting, important ideal, because the ultimate goal, I think, is authenticity in art. Is that like not to pretend through your art that you're something you're not, but actually to really assert yourself as an artist for who you truly are. So even for me, Eric Kim, you know, I am myself. I'm not going to try to pretend to be somebody I'm not. And it seems that the purpose of society is they're trying to turn you into becoming not yourself, to become, you know, some sort of ideal beyond yourself, right? So ultimately, I think I'm more interested in the individual rather than the artwork. So maybe like if you're even doing research on artists, you know, obviously the artwork is important and nice, whatever, but I'm actually more interested in their personality, who they are as a human being. And so, you know, like even in photography, I really like the work of Henri Cartier-Bresson, but places where he kind of gets tripped up for me is the fact that like, I think my theory about the psychology of Henri Cartier-Bresson is that he was kind of like, I don't like it that he spent his whole life photographing other people, but he never let nobody photograph him. I'm like, yo, that's kind of not a good move. Another thought is, you know, Picasso, right? Like, did he actually, like, how did he live as a human being? I'm more interested in that. And like, even, I think the reason why I admire Kanye West is that he has insane amounts of courage to really speak his mind at the risk of, you know, ostracization and blah blah. So actually, that's what I actually admire most in individuals, to have courage to really say what's on your mind, to not censor yourself, to be brave, to essentially have skin in the game. So this is actually why, another reason why I admire Nassim Taleb so much, is that, dude, the guy has huevos the size of the planet Mars, in the sense that like he's actually putting his name on the line, he's putting his his reputation on the line, and he really does put his skin on the line. Because the problem is that like you separate, you know, so I think most people, you could separate them into two categories. One, courageous people, and one, non-courageous people. And the nice thing I like about courage is something that be cultivated, something you could practice, and you'll really never know how courageous somebody is or how authentic somebody is until you see what they're willing to sacrifice or risk or give up for their opinion. Even the stoic, cynic philosopher Diogenes said, you know, the ultimate is freedom of speech, to say what's on your mind. And actually, even nowadays, we Americans, we have freedom of speech, but the bigger issue actually isn't freedom of speech, it's courage of speech. We don't have the courage to say what's really on our minds. And, you know, and then the thing too I wonder is that, like, can you blame people for not being courageous? I don't think that really matters. Like in some ways we should care less about other people, care more for ourselves. So care less about what other people think, care more about yourself, your own opinion, sharing your own thoughts. And yeah, and I think you as an artist, you as a writer, whatever, the best thing you could do is be super raw, unfiltered, transparent with who you are, what you think, to allow yourself to be naked in front of other people, to wear your heart in your sleeve. Seems like a good strategy. And ultimately, the ultimate goal as an artist, don't fake, don't front.